And we are live here on Wednesday, June 22nd, the second day of summer. So, live-ish. But anyway, this is Coffee Pan Dulce, and I'm here with my show partners, Barb Bacon and Christian Cano. Christian, how you doing?
Good, Jenny. Happy continued Pride Month. We are the third week into Pride. Is that right? Am I doing that right?
Is it just me, or I guess because of the promise of being able to do a in-person Pride for the first time in 3 years, and many cities have already experienced Pride in person over this first official month of Pride, and it feels like there's already been about 45 days in June, and not in a bad way. It just felt like a really long June. Like it seems protracted to me. And I've run into other people that have said the same thing. Like, we're loving it, but
it's long.
It's hot too.
well,
I'm sure the heat's not helping.
Yeah. and we have 5 shows in June. That's why maybe it seems so long. So, okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone to Coffee and Punch. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, as Jen said, along with Jenny Gunn, Barb Bacon, Mama Ruth. We are Mama Ruthless, I guess, the entire month of June. We do want to thank those who are joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube and then Facebook later. And then the thousands of people who now listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. It's a mouthful. Should we keep the Spotify joke going, or just
hey, for the people that listen to us on Spotify and other audio,
they're like,
they honestly can't see us do the little covering our mouth, Spotify. So and I guess America, just like COVID, they're over Joe Rogan too, and I don't think he said anything exceptionally stupid in a while.
He probably has.
He's leaving at the gallery.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So with that said, let's go around the Brady Bunch screen, introduce yourself and any button or cause. And we'll start with Barb first and then Jenny.
Hi, I'm Barb Bacon and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. Once again, I'm going to say that I think at the top of my list is still gun control. I'm not going to make a guess whether the Republicans are actually going to do anything this time. Even Mitch McConnell said he was thinking about it, so we'll see. And healthcare for all.
Well, I'm Jenny James Gunn, and I'm in Barb's corner on both the healthcare for all and gun sense legislation. I believe that they're tied together. I think they're.
Yeah.
I think that gun sense and management of gun related issues is a healthcare crisis too. I think it's part and parcel that we're not addressing either serious community issue is that both of those can cause poverty, violence, distrust of public systems and of our neighbors. And they're both, I mean, when you have a mass shooting in Uvalde, for example, that's not a very big town at all, and you have 19 children, babies, taken from you in that community, how can that not scar that place for decades?
Yeah.
Just a thought. If we want to move forward, we got to move forward, I don't know, by taking some people's collective heads out of their collective asses and just use some common sense, and just plain old horse sense. Like it just to me, it says a lot about our society, honestly, sadly.
Okay.
Fractured.
Thank you, Jenny. And I'm Christian County, your other co-host. My buttons are healthcare for all, Medicare for all, Moms of Inaction, gun sense legislation, just like everyone else, and exactly what Jenny said. And of course, in my heart, Black Lives Matter, on behalf of Joe Oldham, who was a guest of ours in 2021, who passed away. So we do want to thank Pride Bernie for joining us. He's here and he's going to be leaving us. And then also Baby Trump Pinata. I tried to get this sign for Baby Trump Pinata to hold, but I couldn't get him all arranged. So I decided to put it behind me. I'll tell you about that sign in a little bit. So with that said, let's go ahead and salute to our neighbors, whatever you're drinking this morning. June 22nd. Good morning. And also, I'm trying to remember. And then also we want to always thank our Pan Dulce sponsor and supplier, Manolo's Bakery here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's in
Ooh.
on Central Avenue. Yeah, he was actually in the paper this weekend. Manolo's Bakery. Please visit your Black and Brown small businesses or any small business. Always buy local and support local. So with that said, I was going to tell you. So Manolo was in our news here in Charlotte because they're extending the rail, the cars or something out to Central Avenue to Matthews or something. Or they want to go up Central Avenue. And his concern is once they do it, that area is going to gentrify and everyone's rates are going to go up. So that was,
He's probably not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we do have 3 current events that we're going to talk about in 30 seconds or less. So our 3 current events are in the state of Florida. There is a Jewish group.
Uh-oh.
You're frozen.
Because they're abortion.
Where's
And
that?
they are saying, they're saying that it actually it goes against their ability to practice their freedom of religion. So if women want to decide what they want to do with their body, it's the religious. And so that's a very interesting argument. So that's the first one. The second one, Hillary Clinton did an interview this weekend, I believe, and she made some comments about the Democratic Party. She said basically that we're becoming too extreme in a lot of extreme positions. And so that's Hillary Clinton, and everyone wants to, if you want to comment on that one. And then the last one is because, this is Pride Month, and of course, these things happen. The Republican Party in Texas met this weekend. They had their convention, and they did their new platform. And one of the items on their platform is, and I'm just laughing on because it's so stupid, but that homosexuality is an abnormal lifestyle choice. So there's a lot of really crazy things in their platform that they've done, and they're getting some pushback from Republicans. Even Don Trump Jr. is called them crazy.
But how about Ted Cruz?
Yeah, Ted Cruz. Okay. So Jen, you always like to start off on these, so go ahead, Jen.
I'm going to start with the log cabin Republicans. If you're a log cabin Republican, and especially if you grew up in Texas, I've got no sympathy for you. You just saw this coming. Like this is a long, slow jack slap.
Hey Jen, explain what log cabin Republicans are for those who don't know.
So both political parties have different caucuses, like Women's Caucus, Black Caucus, different intersectionalities that represent arms of the overall deal. Historically, Republicans are fairly conservative, so they're not real big into embracing the LGBT community. And so several decades ago, there was gay Republicans that in metropolitan areas that started forming a branch called the Log Cabin Republicans. That's more or less the gist without the total history. Obviously, there's a pretty good size contingent of log cabin Republicans in Texas. One, because there's huge LGBT communities in huge cities like Dallas and Houston and places like that.
Yeah.
But, the Texas Republican Party has produced some pretty painfully stupid and very, very combative human beings that have held office. I mean, George W. Bush. I mean, what a nightmare of a president he was. We just go down a list. We've just had a scourge of progressively dumber Republican governors for a quarter of a century. I mean, Rick Perry.
Yeah.
I mean.
He was good compared to Abbott, though.
Well, that's
isn't that weird?
You talk about
exactly.
I mean, Rick Perry was more or less just really, really dumb. He was proof that incest existed in his family.
All right. Okay. So
I will go to
let's
Hillary.
Jump.
Hillary lost in 2016, which means you don't really need to say anything controversial. There's enough controversy. We still talk about your very tragic loss to a mouth breather like Trump. So that means, like for example, the former Vice President Mondale, when he lost to Reagan in '84, He went up to his cabin in northern Minnesota, and we never heard from him again until he died.
Yeah.
That's literally the same thing you need to do, is write some books or have somebody ghostwrite them for you. Enjoy your grandkids that your daughter Chelsea produced. Yeah. And most of all, get a big old sandwich of shut the fuck up with a side of be a former first lady in a historic Senate and a Secretary of State and be quiet. You need to be seen, not heard.
Okay,
Florida. Kudos to the Jewish faith community for stepping up and showing that there can be good faith communities out there that will advocate for intersectionality. And they've got the wacko conservative Christians on the run because how do you fight that?
Yeah, exactly.
How are they going to fight that? This is going to be
and Mazel Tov.
Exactly.
And it's the first good news we've had coming out of Florida in a while. Like, so
exactly.
Like when you started on the Florida, when you first said Florida in the show notes before we started, I was like, oh, did they cut the Florida
they do something
thing off and float out to the ocean or something? Like, what did they do? Blow up Tallahassee? I mean, I had no idea. I try to, when I see a Florida headline, I tend to avoid it. But I had seen that, but I didn't spend any time researching. But it was the best news and the funniest news in a long time.
Okay. All right, Barb.
I agree on Florida. I can't wait to see what happens. That is creative, but it's probably totally true. And the Jewish community is pretty powerful. So this is going to be really interesting. As far as Hillary Clinton goes, I haven't liked Hillary for a very long time, and it was due to my previous pharmaceutical position, and that's all I'm going to say on that subject. So I really don't care what she says. And I'm with Jenny. She should just keep her mouth shut and go wherever she lives now and fade away. I can't stand her. So, end of discussion on that. And the other one?
GOP Texas.
Nothing that happens in Texas surprises me anymore. Even when I was there for that very brief time, I was glad to come back to Charlotte. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. So they talk about fringe. I mean, they are out there. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It's laughable, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay. So to piggyback on what y'all said, the Florida thing, I think, is going to be really important for all of us to watch. They're suing the state because they say that it violates their religious freedom of Jews because Jewish law requires the procedure in some cases for women. And just like HB2 and equality marriage, I don't know if you guys remember, that was overturned in North Carolina because of religion. There were pastors and priests or pastors who actually sued the state of North Carolina because they were trying to tell the pastors what they could preach, and they were going to be fined if they actually married someone, and it violated their religious, and that was really how it got overturned, with a violation of religion. So that's interesting, kind of what you said, Jenny, because they're basically playing the same game as evangelicals, and that's not a game, but I'm saying is that evangelicals, cry about their religious freedoms. They're not the only ones who has those. I agree with y'all, Hillary.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Exactly. And even those who don't practice, don't have religion, they have complete rights as well. Hillary, completely agree. I wish she'd just move on and just maybe give speeches, things like that. She needs to promote our party, not tear our party down. But that's kind of like Bill Maher, Bill Maher's.
Oh.
Well, Bill Maher has been saying lately the Democratic Party, he didn't leave the Democratic Party left him. That is so arrogant because that's under the assumption that he's the only one that can decide what the Democratic Party is like. All right, the last one, GOP Texas. That is just insane. And even their own people, more conservative Republicans in the state are basically saying our party has been taken over by the crazy people. There was a quote in the article about they were saying, and even Donald Trump Jr. says that this is a huge mistake because it's going to come back and haunt them. All right.
But I will say that Trump Jr. Makes a lot of trips to Dallas, And
Yeah.
I'm sure, when he indulges into cocaine and orgy parties, which we know him to do,
Allegedly.
they probably, allegedly,
Yeah.
I do know that he coddles up to a lot of the gay Republicans. And so
Yeah.
I do think some of it is of self-interest, which
Yeah, I agree.
nothing wrong with that. Little nose candy is just dandy. And he's single for a reason.
Yeah.
I am allegedly.
Hey, Jenny, the first thing I thought of when I read that this weekend, because I guess they passed it Saturday and it was in the news on Sunday, the first thing I thought of was, poor Lindsey Graham.
I'm going to be able to visit Texas.
Good thing he's not in Texas, yeah.
And Ted Cruz.
All the big old queens.
Exactly.
I mean, like Dan Patrick, for example.
Oh, yeah,
he's got to be having a rough time because, hey, Dan Patrick is a total closet meat case.
Yes.
And he can't object either because he's like, oh, I'm myself.
Nothing to do.
What do I do? Do I betray, my gay brothers, or do I betray, my supposed evangelical stand? There is a rock and a hard place, literally.
That's right.
For Texas Republicans, just saying.
All right. Okay. Hey,
did it to themselves.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. So we're going to take our first break and we'll come back and talk about the topic. Our topic today is marriage equality. It's been 7 years since marriage equality passed. It was in June. The Supreme Court overturned it, and North Carolina was one of the states that had that law. And so we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget, you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. Welcome back, everyone. And so today's topic is actually marriage equality, 7-year itch. So we want to ask, and the answers are pretty simple, but all of us remember when marriage equality passed and the religious right, the evangelicals, probably the same people who've taken over the Republican Party in Texas and around the world, or around America, they said that this would ruin society, that gay people are going to marry their pets, that it would ruin marriage, as we, all marriages and all kinds of stuff. And it was just, locusts were going to eat the fields, and I made that one up. But it was just like doom was going to, the sky was going to fall.
I was still living in Missouri when it passed, or when the Supreme Court came down, and very, very conservative part of Missouri at that. And I'm just going to tell you just thought we'd poured hot lava over every church and the entire planet when that passed, because, or at least for the conservative, wackos, and they just, and nothing, of course, happened. We already had domestic partnerships in most states, if not all. We had legal marriage in several states before that, before it universally became law, including, of all places, Iowa. And none of those Iowa gay farmers married.
I completely forgot about that. You're right.
Actually, Iowa, I believe,
the Supreme Court
legalized gay marriage in 2010 or 2011. It was real early on, but it was the first state, which was so shocking, like Iowa of all places. Like I was expecting Hawaii, which is traditionally always held up LGBT rights. They were the first mover on
Massachusetts,
Massachusetts, Minnesota. The traditional, more progressive, the first movers, New York, obviously. A lot of them that have been on the forefront of LGBT rights and causes, California. But of all places, Iowa.
Yeah.
No judgment on Iowa. I've been to Iowa.
Certainly not a purple state, that's for sure.
In a very bizarre state.
Yeah.
But I remember when that passed there, because again, I was right above Missouri for the people that are geographically challenged. Right. So which, is for some people like Christian.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and so we had an inordinate amount of Iowa visitors too in the resort town I was living in at the time.
Mhm.
And so it just, marriage equality through my lens, one, because of being in the LGBT community, but also two, at the time when that era during the Obama presidency was
Mhm.
a sub, between the 9/12 wars for profit
Mhm.
and the Great Recession, and then the whole cultural shift about how quickly LGBT acceptance, especially marriage equality, happened so fast.
It did.
Once it seemed like once Iowa and so many states started, it was like domino effect that the Texas ruling, or the ruling on the Oberfeld thing, to me was inevitable. I don't think you could have stopped it, because there was already so many states that legalized it by the time it became a universal ruling. It was almost an afterthought, in my opinion. Because it's like, even some comedians said, we might as well let the LGBT people be as miserable as the rest of us. It's just like you may not enjoy marriage as much as you
exactly
think. Like, it's not going to change your life. Which is, facetious, because there's a lot of legal rights that married people have, especially post-mortem when one of the partners passes away. Clearly, there's a laws written for married people that have a division of assets, that sort of thing. That LGBT people, especially during the height of the HIV pandemic,
weren't able to enjoy.
This is why this was so important. Was more for the facts of life rather than just being able to say, "Hey, we're legally married."
Okay.
It really wasn't a passing fancy.
Okay, Barbara, what do you think? 7 years, is your house caught on fire, or or?
No, and in any case, the people that I know are incredibly more happy and outgoing, and you can talk about it, and it's not verboten. And my sister had 5 or 6 friends that had partners, and they all got married right away. And surprisingly enough, my mother was very cool about everything, and she we called her the Holy Roller Catholic, because she was so devout. And she says, "Oh, well, I don't care. They're nice girls. They're nice to me. That's all I care about." And my pell just froze over, it was like, oh, but no, she's very, very cool with it. And I never understood what the big deal was. I just, I'm glad it's as calm as it is now, but I worry that if we get over this no more abortions thing, I'm very, very worried about what's going to happen there. But a lot of the people that I know were worried that they're going to come after the LGBTQ community next. And it just seems to be another hot button for them. And I don't know. But to me, it was a relief. It should have been that way for a long time. People are kind of hiding things. Why do you have to live like that? People should be allowed to live the life they want to live, and why it has to become a law. I guess for wills and things like that, it makes sense.
There's thousands of federal rights that go into that married people enjoy, rather than non-married. Jen, you were gonna jump in. You were gonna say something.
Well, a couple things. We have a 400-year history of doing the wrong thing when it comes to body sovereignty and body autonomy, and being able to decide what you want to do with your body. I mean, starting with the practice of slavery that started in 1619, and moving forward. And all of this is really where basically rich, white, conservative men have always stacked the deck against everybody else. Women, people of color, different sexual and gender identities. So the indigenous people of this country, they were here way before we were here. And they stacked the deck against us from the get-go, including the very flawed Constitution. And, one by one, we've fought really hard to get a lot of things overturned, like slavery, institutionalized racism. There's still a ton of it still on the law books.
Yeah, Juneteenth. Are they really, really free? Some of them don't think they are.
Yesterday's holiday of Juneteenth is a prime example of how far we've come, but how far we have to go because we still have the Donald Trumps and all the other river tucky mouth breathers that for some reason are so worried about everybody else when they can't even, Steve Bannon can't even groom himself. He looks he looks like.
Well, when he goes to jail, who cares?
Well, yeah. He's going to be getting some special grooming lessons in prison, which is going to be awesome. I'm sure he's going to be a lot of fun, dude. When the lights go out, we're going to play house, Steve.
That's right. Okay. Hey, listen. In 2015, with this passed in June. A blog. There was a blog, the Asian Pacific Economics blog, and this person wrote the pros and cons of marriage equality. And this is interesting. I want you to hear this and see how far out people were. The pros were equal rights for all, access to benefits, a decrease in psychological toll. The cons, this is what they said, the cons will be rearing children because same-sex couples are not conducive of rearing children.
What?
Divorce rates are higher. Same-sex couples will have a higher divorce rate than the average. It will go against belief systems, and your tax dollars will be paying for something that you don't believe in. So obviously, this is kind of a fringe thing, but go ahead.
That's just. I almost don't even want to talk about it to even give it any life other than the wacko. Obviously, none of that's true. There's lots of countries that have same-sex laws on the books for marriage equality. Many states, we had long-term domestic partner states that we'd seen over the last 10 or 20 years before marriage equality was nationalized. And there was no support for, again, they try to make it look like, kids are going to be the victim in this thing and all that. And typically speaking, and I've seen, many long-term studies on this, child abuse is usually typically lower in same-sex couple relationships, families, versus hetero families. There's so many, and most of all, here's the biggest thing. As somebody that raised kids, and Barbara's raised kids as well, I know as a parent, a well-adjusted, happy parent always is going to outperform a in-the-closet, miserable, suicidal parent. I'm speaking from personal experience, raising kids, that me having to live a lie, an absolute day-to-day lie, and have to protect my kids from my identity, made me a worse parent. And if I had one single regret was parenting kids while wanting to die every single morning and every single night. And I can tell you, outdated mentalities of enslaving people because of your own hypocrisy and idiocy should have been long gone.
Yeah,
we in this information age, I can't believe that we have any kind of semblance of mentality.
Yeah,
but clearly, the dumbass conservatives of our country that believe in bullshit like that clearly can't get their heads out of their rectums long enough to realize two dudes getting married and sleeping together ain't going to change your life one bit unless, of course, you're man crushing on them. And that's a whole different Freudian discussion, is how in the world gay marriage affects you and you're supposedly straight is beyond me. Says a lot.
Okay. All right. On that note, we'll be right back. We're taking our second break. We'll be right back. And it looks like my video is a little slow with my mouth. So is that right? That's what it looks. So anyway, we'll figure that out when we edit. We'll be right back on Coffee Pan Dulce right after this. Hey everyone, we just want to wish you a happy Pride. June is International Pride Month and we're celebrating it all month long. Also, we do want to thank those who watch us on Facebook and YouTube and the people who now listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. We want to thank you. Don't forget that our summer schedule is out, so we have our topics that we'll be covering in July and also in August. And just want to say happy Pride. I'll dance out. Happy Pride. Well, welcome back, everyone. And so as Jenny was saying, and I'm sorry, don't look at my lips because it looks like it's off.
Well, it is running a little faster than it was.
Yeah.
There was a little bit
Okay.
before I went on my tirade. That we were lagging a couple times during the show.
Yeah.
But it could be while we're recording it. Sometimes it lags,
Yeah.
but when we actually play the show, it plays just fine. But you'll figure that out later tonight.
Exactly. I sure will. So, Barb, in 2015, I don't know if you remember, but, there was a lot of people who were concerned about what was going to happen. It's the same stuff that probably occurred with when the Loving ruling came down. I don't know if you guys remember that, the Virginia Loving ruling that made it allowed interracial couples to marry, or it was illegal to discriminate against them. And I'm sure there were white supremacist evangelical Christians saying this is going to tear up the family. This is going to, so all this wonderful stuff. What's so interesting, this is what I was talking to Jen about and y'all about when we have when we're talking about the schools and all of that stuff they're doing. Every single time you hear like a conservative person, whether it's a mom or a dad talking about other people's children, they're always concerned about other people's children when their kids hate them. It always comes out. It's always like, why don't you worry about your own kids? I just want to put it in there. Anyway, so Barb, do you have any comments on any of that?
Well, on that topic, if you ever are in a conversation with somebody like that, and I'll say, well, how are your children? Well, why are we talking about my children? I said, well, you're talking about somebody else's. Why aren't you talking about your own?
Yeah.
And it's like defense, back up, and it's like, I can't discuss other people's children because I don't know them. And it's not my place to do that. So let's just change the subject, and it's like trying to smooth it over with people like that. It just doesn't happen. And I don't care to listen to people rant anymore. I got better things to do with the rest of my life, and I just don't do it. But back in my younger days, I'd go head to head with a few of them, and it could get pretty ugly. And if alcohol was involved, it was even worse. So, but it makes no sense to me. Keep your mind on your own situation and let's stop worrying about everybody else. We need to get back to some kind of civility. And I'm actually encouraged. We got a letter from the Homeowners Association. They want to start having more group things, where I'm in a pretty heavy Republican area here. And they're trying to get like one group, the whole neighborhood, once a month. I think that's pretty aggressive, especially in the summertime because people are just gone. But at least somebody's trying to do something and smooth things over, because some people just aren't even talking to each other anymore. It's ridiculous. But I don't know. Everybody to get along.
Well, here's a question. Jenny, I know I've asked you this before. Doesn't it feel like, with the Texas thing that came out, when Hillary Clinton said this thing about, we need to stop focusing on the transgender community because it's an extreme, all the stuff that that starts to come out, doesn't it feel like, or I don't know, maybe you can say it almost feels like I'm upset, but not I'm more like stupid. I mean, they're so out of the norm. They are that their hatred and their rhetoric just doesn't work like it used to, because we've evolved.
Well, don't you think we're all tired of it? I'm tired of it. Blah, blah, blah. Turn the TV off. I don't want to hear it anymore. I changed the radio stations.
Yeah.
I'll listen to music I can't stand before I'm going to listen to that anymore.
I think the proof comes out in the pudding, because first of all, you look at 2020's election results. If that kind of rhetoric will to me always bites you in the ass. I mean, we're talking about Governor Wallace during the 1960s, or our modern day Governor Wallace, Trump.
Yeah.
And when you have these, for lack of a better word, these dicks, these just absolute jackasses.
You're stealing my lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that Americans are very forgiving people.
Yeah.
Except for when somebody has just made such an ass out of themselves and has been unrelenting, has not asked for forgiveness. Because I'll use TV preachers, for example, like a Jimmy Swaggart, that just threw himself on the sword and cried on TV, and he let the Lord back in his heart and all that. And let me tell you, people still follow that dude. I think he's dead now, but they moved on, and stuff like that. Same way with Jim Baker too, and we can forgive politicians that screw up. We've seen that both over time, and also Americans in general just have short attention spans too. We move on to the next shiny object. But when you're a total ass, and I mean, he was an ass from the moment he got sworn in to the moment he got evicted out of that White House. He was an ass from stem to stern. And I think that's what got him fired, was people will forgive somebody that's incompetent but good intentioned, like a Jimmy Carter, who was not particularly a good president. But as far as a beloved former presidents, does Jimmy Carter even have a peer among the living presidents right now? He's literally loved universally, and saying mainly because of the humanitarian work he's done for the last 40 years. But also, he's dedicated. He's an example of a really good servant Christian leader too. He actually lives by the words of Mesopotamian Jesus, and has dedicated his life to humanity when other people have done book deals and self-gratification tours, including Obama, versus Jimmy Carter, that has done so much for peace around the world. Domestically, is dedicated to building homes for the homeless and with the Habitat with Humanity. And so you can look at somebody like Jimmy Carter that universally was dead in the water politically, got obliterated by Reagan, looked like an absolute jerk at times because, he talked about malaise and kind of blamed some of the stuff on the American people. He was not very popular at the end of his presidency.
No,
but
Contra didn't help him either.
a little bit of an illegal, type deal. But the end of the deal, our viewpoint of Jimmy Carter now, that's almost 100 years old, or right at 100 years old,
close,
we absolutely love him. People universally adore him. Even Republicans love Jimmy Carter now, because they forgot about the solar panels on the White House. But look at a Trump.
Yeah.
Talk about two extremes, Jimmy Carter and Trump.
Two one-term presidents, not well liked at the end of their term for different reasons.
Yeah.
But we look at a DT, and most people, even a lot of Republicans, if he fell in the ocean tomorrow, nobody would miss him. Okay. But because he's been so unapologetic, he's not sat down and asked for forgiveness or spilled his heart or shown any remorse.
He's shown no.
He's probably killed close to a
great.
million Republicans because of
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
Out of the 1.7 million to 1.8 million of documented and undocumented deaths to COVID in the United States, 60% of them or more
Yep.
are conservatives that died.
Yep.
He killed people that are in his own cult,
Mhm.
and he has shown absolutely no regret saying the UV idea and the making fun of Biden's mask size, and just was just so brutal and churning lies. And we won't even talk about January 6th. You know, he that is exactly why I think, bring this back to marriage equality. I think, again, reason why marriage equality is not a big deal to probably 80% of Americans is they're going, there's no downside.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the downside?
Jenny, that's why this platform by the Texas GOP makes no sense. Because this is, tell me what you guys think about this.
Why alienate somebody in your own party? Why would you do that?
But this is, but Barbara, this is what's even more interesting. Anyone who's grown up in Texas, like, you know, all of us, we've lived in Texas, we've grown up in Texas. We all know in the Southern Baptist Church, which is the largest Protestant church and used to be huge in Texas, now probably Catholics are outnumber them now. Everyone always had a gay family member. They just didn't talk about it. They were the choir director. They were the friendly person with the roommate. Everyone knew. It was accepted. The white evangelical and Protestants will accept gay because one of their family members might be gay, but they don't like people of color. And so this is like, this would be too much for them because, I mean, here in North Carolina, they don't necessarily care if you're gay. They do, some people do, but just don't be Mexican or just don't be, you know what I mean? And so, so it is like crazy times.
Well, I know what you're saying. So, you know, what's really shocking is the fact that the log cabin Republicans are primarily white, wealthy, banker type, technology bros, attorneys, you know, real estate brokers, wealthy people, and you know, and live in nice houses, donate to the right charities, this sort of thing. These log cabin Republicans aren't necessarily the loud people in the room. They're typically people that we know here in Charlotte. We know some log cabin Republicans here.
They run the campaigns.
Yeah,
they do the fundraising.
But they're a lot of them you don't even know necessarily that they're even gay. They blend in. They're very Republican. They're very They're typically very conservative people and predominantly white. Like I've never seen a person of color be a log cabin.
I don't think I've ever seen a lesbian at a log cabin Republican.
There's a few.
Maybe.
But it's predominantly white.
It's usually a white guy.
Men. I mean,
that's right.
And Caitlyn Jenner. And, and so, you know, she's the lone representative of famous log cabin Republicans.
Well, that's why this doesn't make any sense.
And this is super bizarre because these are wealth-wise are very wealthy people. They also typically are in well-placed jobs like CEO jobs, executive jobs, high-level professionals, that sort of thing.
So the largest donor for the last year, I believe, is this Peter Thiel. Am I pronouncing his name? Thiel. He's one of the billionaires.
Thiel.
Yeah, Thiel. He just got off the. He was early investor in Facebook and PayPal and all kinds. Him and Elon Musk are really good friends. He's gay, and one of the things that they've been saying is he now going to stop donating to Republicans in the state of Texas because of this? Because basically what they're saying is you're an abnormal
Yes.
whatever, and so this is, I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see what.
It would serve them right. Something's gotta shut them up, and hit them in the pocketbook might be it.
Well, I mean, and
Always
it's a
do.
self-inflicted wound,
So do you think they've gone too far, Jen?
Well, I think they passed that timeline in this
Okay, yeah.
little universe
Long time ago.
quite a while ago. I think the
Yeah.
moment,
No, because you know how
I
we
think
always
the
say,
moment Trump.
how much crazier can they get? We always say
I'm
that.
afraid
Well, they can get crazier.
I'm
I
afraid
don't
to say that.
think. See, I see the Republican Party differently than most people do. I'm a realist. I accept you for who you are, not who you pretend to be. So I always see the fleas with the dog, and I don't care because we all have fleas. They're just some are more obvious than others, but we all are dogs, and we're all wild animals, and we all have our fleas. and we all have our kukri.
Yeah.
Some of us just hide it better. The Republican Party,
Doesn't hide it anymore.
from Nixon on, have been the scourge of the earth. They've done a better job. This generation of Republicans are just willing to let their freak flag fly and going, because they've been, Republicans back even when we were young, Christian, and the seceding from the Union came up about every 2 or 3 or 4 years, and we heard all the other wacko conspiracy theories and just all normal Texas, typical Texas BS and all the crap, all the different, fantasies and violence fantasies that Texans have. And so for them to do this, I'm surprised. I'm literally shocked that the log cabin Republicans of Texas got to stay into the party and into the little He-Man woman haters club that long with spanking alfalfa that, the little gay rascals should have been kicked out a long time ago, according to the rules. I'm just surprised that Dan Patrick, well, I know why Dan Patrick left him around, but I'm surprised that between Clueless Perry and Abbott, those two wackos, like how they lasted this long is a miracle, and I'm sure it had to do with money. Yeah. But to me, that trough of money, just leave them alone. Just leave them alone. Like, that's an ATM printing machine of wealthy gay dudes that are just turning out money to whatever reason. Well, I can't picture why somebody would be LGBT Republican myself, but I get it. Each their own.
So hey, let's take our last break. We're going to take our last break, and this last break talks about a show that comes on 20 to 30 minutes after this one on Wednesdays at 11:30. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. Jenny leads that show, and we will take our last break, and we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian, and hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And don't forget to join. Jenny's show comes on at 11:30 on Wednesdays, and so this is where we really let our hair down.
but we have missed one point on this whole log cabin Republican thing.
Yeah.
Happy Pride.
Yes. Yeah. So this is what I was going to say. If I remember correctly, the reason did you guys know why they call them the log cabin Republicans? If I remember correctly, the log cabin, they took that name up because there's this belief that Lincoln was gay, and they named it after the Lincoln and the log cabin Republicans. Apparently, they believed that Lincoln was gay. He just hid it during that time period. Also, if you have Netflix, there's a wonderful comedy special. It's like a Pride type of comedy.
Okay.
Wonderful show. They kind of talk about some of the things, evangelicals, that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
What's the name of the program on Netflix?
I think it's called Pride, Stand Proud, or something like that. Anyway, it just came out yesterday.
Okay.
And so it's got, all of the people you think you would, Wanda Sykes, all the comedians, Tig, all of them. The one that from Gaston County, what's her name? She's got the blonde hair, real short blonde hair. Kind of, you know what I'm talking about. Her mom lives in Gaston County, and I saw her at Pride, and we've seen her on the TV all the time. And one time she showed me, I said, I know who that is. And so, anywho, I forgot where I was going with that. Anywho, so watch that. So, Jenny, go ahead. I'm sorry. I lost my...
No, I was just going to say that you were freezing up a little bit.
Okay.
Back from the break. So I don't know how much of that actually got heard, but anyway, yeah, of course, we have a lot of folks, from like Netflix and other streaming services that are, there's some wonderful reboots that have come out. Queer as Folk or whatever, the reboot. Actually, that first season, the first new season, on the Peacock network actually was that NBC owns. It's a streaming service. It's actually pretty good. So I watched it the other day. I binge watched it a week ago at night, and
who knows? And maybe one day we'll be binge watching a show called Two Queers in a Truck.
It'll definitely put you on a minute. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
You may miss some dry days.
That's right. Okay, let's get back to marriage equality. I completely took us in another direction. I'm so sorry, but I think maybe the reason. I guess that might be an example of how normal. I'm not just saying that sounds like it's not normal. How a non-issue it is.
It always was. Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's like,
I think the word you were searching for to me is the LGBT, especially the L's and the G's.
Yeah.
Are more mainstream because
Yes.
there's people in elected positions that are now, the governor of Colorado that's openly gay male. He ran as an openly
Yes.
gay male.
I did not know that until you told me.
Secretary of Transportation, Pete, Booty Call.
Mayor Pete.
Mayor Pete is openly. We have a transgender assistant secretary of health.
That's right.
And services.
Yeah.
We have the press conference lady that replaced Jen Psaki, and I'm
Oh yes. Who are you talking about?
Amazing, talented human being just took the job. So you're seeing a lot of openly, we've seen some openly queer people in politics for quite a while now, and of course, obviously in entertainment, that's been a long-standing thing. And in sports now, and you're seeing people in all intersections, the military. You're seeing I think our cultural acceptance, our acceptance of Pride celebrations, the mainstreaming of Pride celebrations shifting from a more of a protest and
a celebration,
really, an absolute celebration of diversity, and shifting more towards elevating indigenous and people of color, and trying to be more socially acceptable, which I think is the LGBT community's next frontier. Is our internal racism that we have in our community.
Yes.
At our struggles there. And also too, just elevating the different intersections of our community. And that it's not just about the L's and the G's.
Yeah.
And that there's other people in that alphabet soup.
There's the B, the T's, and the there's exactly.
And so, and again, I think everybody that's in an oppressed intersection, basically everybody that's not a white male.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
It is always is going to want their human rights expanded as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
As they should want that. They should clamor for freedom and that human dignity.
Exactly. Well, that's why what Hillary said doesn't make it's to me it's insulting. Well, because basically that's like saying people don't ask for too much because you're going to rock the boat. isn't it?
Yeah,
That's like that's like
And and the ironic thing about this is that she was the first female candidate for president
right.
from any party.
Yep. And she blew it.
And she was in her, remember her
Abysmal.
inauguration? I mean, not her inauguration, but when she won the nomination in the DNC party, and they had this electronic glass ceiling that exploded and all that, and talking about better together and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And what a load of shit was that? I mean, what a fucking big old pile of horse pucky was that crap when you run on a platform of better together, which is pretty lame anyway, and then talk about glass ceilings.
Yeah.
But the rest of y'all need to eat cake. Okay. Like that's just, I mean, like she definitely over the weekend, what dignity she had left. And the ironic thing is that she lost to a self-admitted misogynist rapist, and should be trying to empower people so that when another woman runs again, that she'll actually win, and instead going, well, you guys don't want too much too fast.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going, but that kind of mindset's what made you lose 2016.
But
exactly,
we got stuck with 4 years with the orange turd
out of both sides of her mouth, which is what she usually does. She wants everything, and she wants it right now, but nobody else can have that.
Yeah.
She deserve this. You what? No, you gotta earn it, honey. And
it's somebody that's had a lot of privilege, a lot of access to the corridors of power, that's gotten out of politics too late. Because you get to a certain age,
you start believing your hype,
where you start believing your own BS.
Exactly.
And then you start bumping your gums because she's been retired out of politics, for now 6 years.
5 years. 6 years.
And obviously is culturally obsolete.
Yep.
And you get to a point where I don't know if she's starting to lose her marbles a little bit, or just, was feeling ignored and nobody was oohing and on about her pantsuits or whatever it was, or her latest hairdo, or she wasn't getting pulled to Congress, maybe she's jealous because Trump's now getting to get grilled in Congress instead of her. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
There's just the need to be in the headlines. But what a tone deaf dipshit thing to say. And the people that defended her in 2016, including myself, how I appreciated a woman shattering the glass ceiling, how proud I was of Democrats of nominating a woman, how proud I was that the same old white male like Bernie didn't get nominated and anointed because Bernie wanted to be the king so bad he couldn't stand himself. I would have got obliterated worse than Hillary. Even though I would have enjoyed to see Bernie versus Trump, which I honestly do think are kind of the same guy.
They are. They're just opposite.
Bernie bros are just MAGAs that are just bleeding hearts. They'll actually catch you up, and the MAGAs.
They're MAGAs.
I mean, so they're just, but their politics and their divisiveness is the same, and neither one of them would have gotten anything done.
Well, that's why. Hey, I know we only got like 3 minutes left, and we got to close down the show. But that's why when we're talking about marriage equality, when the same people that were saying how destructive marriage equality is are the same people that said it about black interracial marriages, are the same people that said that if we give women checking accounts, it's going to destroy the family. It's the same. So these people have been wrong ever since, because it's really on bigotry and hatred. These are the same people that are attacking the transgender community. So if we just go by their history, we know
they're wrong.
Well, just in hate wars, World War II and the Civil War alone, they're 0 for 2 on being on the right side of history. Right? So these mouth breathers that are a large component or at least the loudest component of the Republican Party.
Yep.
First of
They've
all,
taken over.
I'm glad they're attacking the log cabin Republicans,
Mhm.
because this will be the log cabins.
Another split within the Republican
It's gonna be a
group.
nice bucket of ice cold water down their little gay backs. And
That's right.
I when I run into somebody that sounds like they make some sense, and I know that they're either politically motivated or they're in politics somehow, and I find out they're a log cabin Republican or a woman that is advocating for women's rights but still votes Republican. The first question is, what you talking about, Willis?
Yeah.
The second question is, but literally none of that happens with the Republican Party. Like they don't advocate if you're gay. They're not going to advocate for you. If you're women's rights, I said, they've been fighting abortion for 50 years.
Exactly.
You know, they squashed the ERA.
And I still want to know where their health care plan is, too.
It went through the shredder when Trump shredded all of his documents that he.
And what's their plan? What's their plan? And what's their plan to deal with inflation?
Yeah.
Well, the same.
What's their plan to deal with rising gas prices?
It was the same plan that was going to stop COVID too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right.
They used the UV rays.
Yeah.
It's going to make all the problems just go away.
Don't forget
That's
the
right.
bleach.
Summer, it'll be okay.
Don't forget the bleach. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. With that said, we've run out of time. Let's go around the Brady Bunch screen and tell us where we're going to be over the next week until our next show. So we will start with Barbara and then Jenny.
I have 2 trips to Winston-Salem, 1 trip to Asheville, and but otherwise I'm going to be around here, not doing too much. And next week I have the whole week off. Yes. How about you, Jenny?
That's the low key life right now. I'm kind of in between a lot of things, and I just had my gaming thing last Sunday. And so honestly, don't have anything major for a while, which is kind of nice, just the normal stuff. And I've kind of enjoyed it, and I have scaled back personally on some things. I've kind of retooled some of my advocacy to concentrate on some of my newer projects and to refocus for the rest of 2022. And so actually, I've got a pretty uneventful, hopefully, knock on wood, boring week coming up, honestly, other than work.
Boring is good.
Yeah, I'm
That's
okay
right.
with
sometimes,
that.
Yeah, sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's good. Just want to remind you that next week we have 5 shows in June. So we have 1 more show in June. Next week, our topic is, we talk about July 4th. Who is America? We talk about, what is America today? And then we'll also just take a look at what is replacement theory, because about who is America. That's what the Proud Boys and all the white supremacists are afraid of, is they say there's this conspiracy that they're being, anyway, we'll talk about that next week. And I will be here with you.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. It was the reason why some of these mass shooters occurred. I know the one in Buffalo said that the reason he did that was because of replacement theory. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So with that said, let's say goodbye, and we want to thank you for joining us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Jen, let's see if this works. Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Hey, y'all, thanks for watching. We appreciate y'all watching every week. And happy Pride, man.
Happy Pride. Thank you.
Drink
Bye,
water.
Bye. Bye.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is 2 Queers and a Truck. Stay tuned.